Hi, Dr. Saul Richardson from Jazz Workshop Australia here. I'm going to say a couple of words about scales, just a quick method for using scales and learning scales for jazz students, for improvising, particularly in a key center. The traditional way of learning scales is to start at the bottom and play up to the top. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, up and down. For instance, in a C major scale. That's all cool, that's good. That's an important way to practice scales, but is it really the best way for a young student learning to improvise? I'd suggest no. Here's a better way. As an alternative, try this. Start with the keynote of the scale at the center and work upwards and downwards from there. Let me show you. So maybe try this method. Think of the keynote as being at the center of everything, a bit like the sun at the center of the solar system, or if you don't agree with that, maybe come up with your own alternative analogy. Here's B flat, concert. B flat Dorian scale, up and down. Practice it this way instead. Up, maybe half an octave. And down. I'm going up to the fifth. And then down to the fifth. Because when we create melodies or improvise, we don't just run up and down the scale. We tend to surround the keynote and move in multiple directions. Play above the keynote and below the keynote. There's another good reason for avoiding the traditional method. Don't avoid the traditional method, use both methods. But if this is all that you do with beginners, up and down, then they're probably naturally musical people. So when they go to improvise, if you're playing in a key center, which beginners mostly are and mostly should be, they're going to do the musical thing and they're going to hover around the middle of the scale so that they can do exactly what I'm talking about. They can play above and below. It's kind of okay, but it's not so strong. It's the keynote that gives the tonality its power, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't, but anyway. The keynote empowers all of the other notes in the key and it holds them all together. If you're using a major scale, then your students might end up, if they're hovering around the middle of the scale, what's around the middle of the scale? The fifth, that's kind of okay. They'll always be sounding maybe a bit unresolved or something like that, or distant from the key somehow. But the fourth is also there. Disastrous sounding note, and beginners love playing the fourth against a major chord, probably because it's right at the middle of the scale, right near the middle of the octave. So, avoid it. Keynote at the middle, play up and down from there. Scales go infinitely up and infinitely down, growing outward from the keynote. Try it. Your beginner students and less experienced students will sound much better for it. Give it a go. Thanks. Bye.